The suspect in the Brown University shooting, also in the shooting of an MIT professor, 48-year-old Claudio Manuel Neves Valente, was found dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound at a New Hampshire storage facility. And there is so much more to this story. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Brown University shooting and also the shooting of an MIT professor. At Brown, there were 2 students shot and killed and 9 injured, and the professor was shot and killed alone. Now, before I go any further, may they rest in peace. Prayers out to the family. This is most certainly a tragedy. The manhunt for this particular person had been ongoing for the better part of a week. It's been about 6 days since Brown, and the MIT situation happened on Monday. Today's Friday. There were quite a bit of false leads, quite a bit of false positive. There was one guy being removed from Brown's website, and there was a thought process that it could be him, but it was not him. It was this guy, apparently, 48-year-old Claudio Manuel Neves Valente. That's what they say. He's a suspect. Now, whether there are others involved, whether it was actually him, it's not quite clear. But I think that it is him because they are releasing his name, his photo, everything. It appears to be him. And once we kind of get into the details of why we think it's him or why they think it's him, it'll make sense. Especially the MIT professor who he knew from his days living in Portugal. Yes, he is an immigrant to the country. He's here legally, I believe, on the green card, but a non-citizen. Now, before I go any further, let's get straight into some videos here. Of course, I will link to everything in the description if you want to see it and hear it without my commentary. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
News in the Brown University shooting and the murder of an MIT professor. The suspect police believe was behind both attacks has been found dead by suicide in a storage facility in New Hampshire.
Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Carlo is in the newsroom with the breaking details. Anthony?
Well, Sade, Dave, they got their guy, and federal authorities are still digging into the connection between that mass shooting at Brown and the killing of that MIT professor. But they believe, as you said, the same man was responsible. And they say both he and that professor from MIT, who is now dead, studied physics, and they attended the same university in Lisbon, Portugal.
Tonight, our Providence neighbors can finally breathe a little easier.
An intense 5-day manhunt came to an end in Salem, New Hampshire tonight, where FBI SWAT teams and local law enforcement found the body of a man they believe inflicted mass murder on the campus of Brown University, more than 80 miles away in Providence, Rhode Island.
An individual was identified as Claudio Neves Valente, date of birth, and he was a 48-year-old man. He was a Brown student, he was a Portuguese national, and his last known address was in Miami, Florida. And I will tell you that he took his own life tonight.
Authorities say the suspect was found dead in a storage facility. It was just this past Saturday. Evil closed in at a lecture hall on the campus of Brown. The shooter firing more than 40 rounds, killing 2 students and wounding 9, spurring a massive manhunt. Authorities released video of a person of interest seen in the area before the carnage. And
Let's pause. Now, part of this case was cracked, from what I'm able to read, by a homeless former Brown student. The guy was behaving erratically before he did what he did, and the homeless guy saw him. He put out a thread on Reddit, and maybe, just maybe, the authorities were able to get that thread as part of their investigation, and that could have helped him locate this individual.
On Wednesday, Providence police said they wanted to speak with this person seen near that man. He, authorities say, went to the cops and told them what they needed to know to break this case.
And that person led us to the car, which led us to the name, which led us to the photographs of that individual renting the car, which matched the clothing of our shooter here in Providence.
From there, authorities would find that the suspect used a rental car in his pursuit of committing murder, and eventually they'd track him all the way to this storage facility in New Hampshire, thanks to a few pieces of evidence.
It was actually a video that provided us with a description of a vehicle. That was corroborated through a tip that was received through the tip center.
Authorities say
the sign language guy is very distracting. It's hard to listen to my man give this very important information with the sign language person. Maybe they should just do live in real time captions on the screen. I don't know, something other than what's going on right there, but I digress.
Through the tip center.
Authorities say the suspect was enrolled in physics classes at Brown University more than 20 years ago. Authorities initially said there was no connection between the Brown shooting and the killing of an MIT professor just a couple of days later. But that changed today.
We were able to find visual evidence of him inside that storage facility, which, in my judgment, matches him to the Massachusetts scene.
What's still unclear right now is why this man, once enrolled in physics classes at Brown, came back years later to leave an indelible mark of mass murder on Providence, Rhode Island. Anthony Carlo, Channel 7 Eyewitness.
So there we go. Now we got a little bit more here out there in the Boston area. Let's check this out.
What's happening right now in this major breaking news? Here's what we know at this moment. The suspect in the Brown University shooting and also the shooting of an MIT professor in Brookline, Massachusetts is 48-year-old Claudio Neves Valente, a former Brown student and Portuguese national. Neves Valente was found dead by a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside a Salem, New Hampshire storage unit while investigators were executing a search warrant trying to find him.
Now again, investigators say he is the suspect not only in that Brown University mass shooting, but also in the shooting of an MIT professor. They say they found on him, when they found him dead, a satchel, 2 firearms, and additional evidence matching that was out.
Now, that's going to be a key piece here. So they found the guy. They say he's a suspect. They say he's the guy. The key pieces of evidence that we've seen so far match up. Okay, the MIT professor who was shot and killed, they initially said that there was no connection. Then they were able to figure out that they knew each other from living in Portugal. They were schoolmates in Portugal. And then they found weapons on him, which are probably the murder weapons used at the actual shooting. And they got him on camera, and they got his clothes, and they got the rental car. They appear to have their guy. Now, my question is, why did he do what he did?
What was at the crime scene. Again, he is also accused of killing that MIT professor who investigators said tonight had gone to school with the suspect.
Now, Rhode Island's Attorney General is saying a person came forward with information that, quote, blew this case right open. Somebody who had an interaction with them, and a witness had also provided a license plate to authorities probing the Brown University shooting, who then investigated that car and its past drivers. That is what allowed them to ID the same vehicle of interest in the MIT professor killing, and same vehicle they found outside the storage unit up here in New Hampshire.
Now, officials say, again, that Nieves and this MIT professor, they both went to school together in the late 1990s. The Massachusetts U.S. Attorney says that Valente had gone to the same academic program at the school at the time.
Now, I think once they go to Portugal and do some research, they'll be able to find some kind of robbery, some kind of issue, something between them, because clearly they knew each other. But bro, then the 90s, the early 90s, you're like 50 years old. Why are you now coming back to do what you did here? Again, we'll find out soon enough. But there's still the issue of the homeless guy. Let's check that out right quick.
Opened by a homeless man who goes by John. Now, investigators say that he's a former Brown University student who grew suspicious of the gunman when he locked eyes with him in the bathroom just 2 hours before the shooting inside the Barris and Holly building. The gunman, his name is Claudio Neves Valente. Now, John, pictured here, is the man police were looking to speak to because of how close he got to that gunman. John said he followed Neves Neves Valente out of the building before the shooting and played a game of cat and mouse in the neighborhood. Surveillance video shows Neves Valente running away from John. At one point, he stood just feet away from the gunman and questioned why he was circling the block. The gunman repeatedly responded, quote, "Why are you harassing me?" When police released images of the suspect after the shooting, John wrote an anonymous Reddit post describing seeing the gunman unlock a parked gray Nissan sedan with Florida plates he thought could be a rental. 3 days after the shooting, John anonymously called the police tip line and flagged his own Reddit post.
There we go. So, hey, shout out to John. Again, John, a homeless guy out there, a former Brown student, actually, a former Brown student, came forward and said, hey, this might be your guy right here. So shout out to John being at the right place at the right time. But of course, I will link to everything I've covered here in the box so you're able to see it here without my commentary. But as I close, I want to say this again. May all those who died during the Brown shooting and also the MIT professor, may they rest in peace. Prayers out to the family. Most certainly a tragedy. I wanted to wait until I did this story because I felt like there was too much misinformation. People didn't really know anything. It's like, okay, let's wait until we get something concrete. And I think this is as concrete as you can get, in my humble opinion. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about this situation? Why do you think the alleged shooter, the suspect, did what he did? Some rivalry from 30, 40 years ago in Portugal? Some kind of internal angst? Why do you think this happened? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. Rest in peace to all those who died. Prayers out to their family. There's clearly something here. The professor and this guy knew each other. And I think the Brown shooting was spurred on by whatever kind of issue he had with the guy from MIT. Maybe some personal issue. Okay, you didn't make it to where you wanted to be in life. You did not succeed. So you take it out on them. It sounds like something personal that resulted in the loss of innocent life. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.